What does being great mean to you?
You can't change something in a day. It's a collection of 1% every day over a long period of time creates who you are. Greatness isn't what you end up being measured against anybody else. It's what you end up being measured against who you were, because you don't stay the same. You either get worse or you get better.
If dudes can apply the principles that they learn from the league to business and their career, like, you will be wildly, wildly successful.
I think business is 80% psychology, 20% tactics. If the mindset's not there too, man, that's a big piece of it. Like, it's not going to work out.
It takes a village to be successful in anything. Using everybody's strengths to reach your common goal. Like, that's what the NFL is all about. That's what business is about. You have to put people in positions to succeed and kind of meet them where they are. You can't just conquer the world on your own. It just doesn't happen.
Dang, I love that, man. That was awesome.
Born to be great, man. Will, what's up? Trying to think about the first time that we met. Would have been on the Cowboys, probably after, can't even remember when you came into the season, but appreciate you hopping on.
Appreciate you guys having me, boys.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. Well, appreciate you getting in here and taking some time to chat with us, man.
Justin was probably fanboying when you were at Florida quarterback. Justin's the biggest Gator fan ever.
Do love my Gators. Do love my Gators.
Go
Man.
Gators.
Let's go. Dude, let's just get into it, man. I feel like we could start anywhere, but I'm actually curious because I just found this out, like, I guess when I was doing my research, even before we met. And, don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I didn't realize that your brothers were Nash and Hayes Grier. And so I'm
Oh
really
yeah.
curious, like what that was like growing up with them. Cause, I remember when I was younger growing up on social media, like they were like the guys. So I'm really curious, like what it was like being Will while having them as brothers.
Yeah, younger brothers. Yeah, it was I mean, it's hard to put into words because I mean now it's so long ago too, which is crazy. But Nash just kind of messing around on on these early social media apps. It was he was always funny. Like, he's just a funny kid, and like him and my brother and I like would help him too. Even back then, would just make these like dumb videos, and he just blew up one day. We were sitting in my car. I used to drive us to school. We were sitting in my car, and he was refreshing his profile on Vine, which our Vine was one of the best social medias ever. I think it was perfect. Hate they got
Bring
rid of
back
it,
Vine.
but bring
I
back
mean, that was
Vine.
like TikTok before TikTok, right?
Bro, yeah, but the 6 second limit was amazing. But he was refreshing his profile, just like swiping down over and over again. We were just watching his like follower count was just like doubling almost every time he was refreshing in the school parking lot, and it was like we thought it was glitched out. It was like weird, and he got like super famous in like 2013, like almost overnight. I was already like committed to Florida. I think it was like my senior year, and I was like well known in the football world or whatever. Dude, from then for the next like 3 years, I was known as Nash's brother, and like it was just a wild like ride to be on there for a while. And he did really well with it, and then they moved out to LA kind of at around the same time that I moved to Florida. We all kind of left the house at the same time, and they did really well with it. They still live out there, still kind of do a little bit of it. They didn't want to, they kind of both found their way in their own way, but I'll let them talk about them. But for me, it was just an interesting peek into like the entertainment world, right? Like how I guess famous people live and operate and work. It gave me like some crazy insight to like, I mean, dude, they would fly commercial and people would be like at baggage claim, like with cameras out, signs, all this stuff, and like they're like wearing disguises places and stuff like that, and it's just like
Golly.
it's
Wow.
wild to like, I mean, it's wild that it was my own brother, but it was wild to see that kind of from the inside and be like, man, like it's not all just rainbows and unicorns being like super famous. Like that's like a crazy life.
I can only imagine, man. Did that like what kind of effect did that like have on you though, like seeing them go through like that kind of stuff? And I guess even just like you said, you were known as Nash's brother, not Will Grier. Did that have an effect on you as well?
I mean, it's funny because like, the a lot of the men, like older men, knew who I was because I played football, but like all these kids and girls especially would just be like, you're Nash's brother," and I'm like, "Yeah."
And y'all were in North Carolina at this point?
I'm no, at Florida even, like
Florida.
college girls, like Yeah, like it was everywhere, bro. Like everywhere I went, I was Nash's
You're like,
brother,
"I'm
and I
actually the
was
starting quarterback of Florida," but, like, they're, like, coming up to you, "Nash's brother."
yeah, no, it was wild. It was an interesting, dynamic of. I mean, they were really really famous there for a few years, and the perspective of like, man, like that's a hard life to live when you're that your life is that like public and just how to handle that because I was like you said starting quarterback at Florida like I was famous in like a smaller group especially in Gainesville but like in that college football community or whatever and I was kind of navigating that fame but then watching them navigate theirs made mine seem a lot easier but just knowing that you're living a public life and how to handle that, your platform and your influence. Like everything you do is going to get evaluated, right, by the public. And it was not even as bad back then as it is now. And as I grew up in that, realizing how to do the right things and say the right things and while you're when you have that platform like how to use it for good and not use that platform to spread spread good things and not be one of those people that is out there causing negativity or causing being a bad influence for the youth. I think that's where we kind of as a family realized that and tried to make that adjustment, I would say, because I was not always this way, but made that adjustment and, even started this foundation, the hat I'm wearing, just as a part of my mission to just be a positive influence towards the youth. So,
I love that, and your golf tournament's coming up, right?
yeah, golf tournaments. Yeah, March 30th. Yeah, the foundation's been awesome. The golf tournament's been a great event the past couple years. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. It'll be another great event. It'll be all over social media and stuff.
In where's it at? Somewhere in North Carolina?
Yeah, Charlotte.
Charlotte. Did your brothers ever help you or advise you on your social media strategy if you had one? I mean, you got
Yeah, yeah.
half a
No,
million
for
followers
sure.
on Instagram.
Yeah, no, yeah, early on especially. I mean, they had some big time agents early that were helping them. And like you have to realize like when they were famous, this was like the beginning of like the social media like boom, right? Like Twitter came out in like 2000 and I don't know 10 or 9 or something like that and Instagram those things were kind of like out but it really started getting bigger and bigger as they got famous and then it was still pretty new, right? Like using those things, especially as like your own brand. Like now I feel like everybody talks about that. It's a part of like, an athlete's or anybody in entertainment. Like in anybody in business now, it's like your brand, right? But back then it was so new. So we were navigating that like early on. And it definitely helped me like kind of I definitely started that early, like my brand and stuff like that, and yeah, had to kind of like figure it out with them the first few years, but definitely got some early lessons from them and their agents and what they were doing and used that for myself and kind of grew my brand early.
No, the personal branding stuff is crazy nowadays, man. I'm about to get into that myself, and even with just like the podcast we're doing here, it's really interesting. And I think going forward, like especially if you are like you're saying, if you are a branded business, like even as like a founder nowadays, if you're starting a company, I was just on a call the other day with the business that I'm looking to invest in, and one of the people on the call was asking like, hey, does the founder have like any sort of like brand presence online? Because I looked up and I didn't really see much, and they were like, no. And they were just like, "You gotta do this nowadays." You're like, you're competing with everyone. You're a brand, your business is a brand, but people wanna hear from the people nowadays versus just, like, always hearing from the business, unless you're obviously, like, a football team or something. I think it's really interesting, like, y'all's whole family dynamic there and how you got started early there, so that's why I wanted to ask that. But let's switch gears a bit, go back to football a little bit. We talked about Florida. Obviously, I'm a Gator. Will, you were at Florida, man. Can we go there for a second? Just talk about, that season. We're 6-0, I believe, and, I think you just smoked Ole Miss, right? And then,
Yeah.
we just go there. What was that like that whole season, man? And, I guess just tell us your own experience in your own words, man.
Yeah, yeah, let's absolutely go there. Let's go to Gainesville and let's go to about half a mile south of the swamp. My house was on think it was 73rd was the street. I lived with the kicker, who is still a good friend of mine, Austin Harden. Has a great job up in New York City. We talk all the time. Talked to him yesterday. I lived with the punter, Johnny Townsend. His brother's still playing. I think he's done, but is very active, actually, still in Gainesville. Johnny is. And then lived with their older brother. So there's four of us in this house. We're like, you know, kind of the anchor of the team, right? Like socially, a lot of guys would come over to our house, hang out. We lived close to the stadium and I had a great experience in Gainesville. I was really did like dove into the college experience, right? Like partied and you work hard, play hard. That was like my thing in Florida. But, you know, leading up to that season, I had, I came from a small school in Charlotte. Went to play the SEC and play with the big boys and had a lot of confidence that probably didn't deserve, but I did and won the job in the fall and played well for 6 games. And at kind of midway through the season, got drug tested by the NCAA and didn't really think anything of it. Just took the test like I did every other test, kept on moving. And then after a game, got a notification from the NCAA that I like failed the drug test. And I was shocked. Coach brought me in. He was like, you got to go do a press conference because you like right now. And I just learned the news like a minute before I did that press conference. And that's like on YouTube. I barely knew what to say. I was in shock. But come to find out, like the stuff that guys had in the locker room, back then, like, I don't know if they've changed this, but there's a list of banned substances on the NCAA's like website. And it's
Yeah.
a little bit different than the NFL. And like I said, I don't know the rules now, but you had to kind of like they would update the list. Like they would put things on the list, kind of randomly. And as an athlete, it was on you to kind of like know what you were taking and all that stuff. And like, dude, I was 18 or 19 years old and was in college, didn't have a care in the world. I was, playing ball and partying and having a great time, whatever. But I guess something that me and something that was in our house that we had all gotten was had something in it that tested positive, and it was, obviously an honest mistake, and it was rough because, like you said, we were 6-0, we were rolling. I was playing really well. Us as a team were playing really well, and we ended up like losing a lot of games after I got suspended and couldn't play. Like I said, like I felt a lot of responsibility and I was young and it just that tore me up. But coach he ended up wanting me to transfer. He said, I think it's just best for you to get a fresh start. We're going to bring in some recruits. We want to just move on. So I want, you need to transfer.
That was your true freshman year?
Redshirt freshman year.
Redshirt. Had you met Jeannie at that point?
Yeah, Jeannie and I were dating that redshirt freshman year. We started dating in like the spring of 2015. So this was the fall of 2015. So Jeannie really helped me through a lot of that. And we've been together ever since then, obviously. But yeah, I mean that the transfer process was very different back then. I mean, he printed out a list of schools that I couldn't transfer to, like all these schools in the SEC, and anybody that was on Florida's schedule for the next like 3 years. I had a list of schools I could not go to, so it really narrowed down where I could
Was
go.
that just 'cause, he didn't want you to go there, or was that like a rule?
I mean, I think back then you could block certain schools, like it just was different than it is now. But like,
Wow.
um, yeah. So anybody in the SEC I couldn't go to, and anybody they were playing in the next 3 years. So like, and I didn't have an agent or anything, you know what I mean? Like it's college football. So I was talking to guys that, I guess knew I was available. They were calling me directly. I was calling people that, recruited me in high school or whatever. It was a weird process. But ended up kind of choosing between Ohio State and West Virginia and loved Dana. And Dana was like, we'll throw it 70 times a game. You know what I mean? Like, um, so ended up choosing West Virginia, and that was awesome. But had a great experience in Florida. Like when I reflect on that time, it was truly like, my college experience. I did a lot of growing up. I went far from home and like kind of did all that on my own. Did some great things, obviously made some mistakes, but kind of learned my way through that and always got a lot of love for the Gators and like my time there. So
You would have made a bag in NIL, dude. You'd have made it at West Virginia too.
missed that boat.
Because you had a
Would have made some good
baby
money.
your what is it, junior year at West
Yeah,
Virginia?
so like when I left Florida on the way to West Virginia, long story short, Jeannie and I were like, Jeannie was finishing up school, so she had like a semester left, and we were like, are we doing this like long distance thing? Or are we just gonna like basically break up or like long distance? What are we doing? Am I coming with you? And as we're making that decision, we found out she was pregnant, and it was like, all right, well, guess you're coming with me. That made that decision. So took it as a sign from God and went to West Virginia with her, kind of started a family and I focused in on, all right, I got to provide for a family now. So West Virginia was much less of a college experience and more so of like, I got to go play well and get to the NFL or and graduate, and like do it like I got to provide for a family now. So it's a different experience than Gainesville for sure. But
No, man, appreciate you sharing all that, man. I'm just curious too, I guess at that time in Florida, well, like you find out you said it like sort of tore you up. Like, did when you transferred to Virginia, were you feeling better at that time? Or are you still feeling a little bit like uncertain? Like, how was that for you?
yeah, I mean, it definitely again, like it was, I was on ESPN for weeks after, like, we were top 5 team in the country when it all went down. Like it was very public news and it wasn't good publicity, you know what I mean? So and it was
So you got a lot of hate messages on social media.
oh yeah, all of that. And like yeah, so
So
like I
bad.
was like, and again, like very young and kind of finding my own way. I didn't have an agent. Like I relied on it was a lot of just me and Jeannie and my dad a little bit, not a lot of mentors. Like I was just navigating that on my own, which again, like helped me grow up. Just very different world back then than it would be for a guy now, right? Like a lot of, negligence and just being a young kid. Navigating that was really hard in West Virginia, and the support that I got there from Dana and from the some other people there. I worked with a mental coach there that was unreal. Like I said, knowing that Jeannie was pregnant and we were, starting a family, I kind of flipped my mindset to like, all right, I got to provide like, and I just focused on that. I think it's important that was important for me at that age to like have a goal and to be striving for something. I think without that, who knows, but felt like that kind of focused me in on, none of this other stuff matters. Like I got to go provide for my family. So
What did the mental coach help you with? I'm curious about that because I'm a big believer in having coaches, mentors that can, whether it's from like mindset, business, whatever. Like, can you talk about that a little bit more?
yeah, so when I got there, his name's Mike Brummage, and he in West Virginia was doing some great work on mindfulness with kids whose parents were, addicted to opioids and all kind of like he was army veteran, unbelievable guy. Somehow met him, and the football team somehow met him, and kind of he did some work with some guys or whatever. But I got close to him. He was working with me on mindfulness, so we would do some meditation practices and imagery, different things like that of just like centering yourself, focus, and the meditation stuff really helped me a lot. And so we did it leading up to the season and then started doing it, before games and stuff like that. It became sort of a pregame, ritual. I did it throughout my career there and it helped a ton. And it's something I think kind of set a foundation for me of how important like the mental aspect and some of that, you know, that mindfulness kind of carried over throughout my life. And now it's more of a it's more of a religious thing for me now. I've gotten really close with a pastor here in Dallas, but I'm big on the Bible. Big, I believe in the Bible. I read it every day, and that's kind of how I practice my mindfulness now. Is with my readings and I meditate and pray. But I think that's just a huge. That was a huge influence on who I am now and helped me a ton in college dealing with all the stuff I was dealing with.
No, I love that, man. I think I think if it wasn't for me too, like, it's some of the mentors in my life that was helping me with some of that stuff. Like, I had a coach who, did a lot of, like, visualizations, meditation stuff with me too, probably, like, 3, 4 years ago, and I still pretty much practice what he taught me, and that stuff changed my life for sure, and I think I don't know if it's like a lost art, I would say, but, like, I think there's a lot of power in it. I was actually talking with, Ryan Howard, if you know who he is, one of the, he's, like, one of the best Phillies, baseball players of all time, and I was meeting him, and I was like, "Dude, did you ever, like, visualize?" And he was like, "Dude, when I was 18, I knew I was gonna be, like, a pro ball player," and I was like, "That's insane to me." But he was like, "That's how I was raised," and I was like, "Dude, I don't think there's a coincidence here with your mindset and how you thought about things." So I don't know what you think about that, but I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. I think that manifestations and visualization, like that stuff is real. I mentioned like my confidence going into Florida, like that was almost a little bit of that. Like I think that breeds confidence. It breeds when you're doing those things, you got to believe in yourself and believe that you can do something to the fullest degree, and that gives you the power to do it. If you have any doubts, then there's nobody else is going to have enough belief in you to make up for that, right? Like you have to believe in it yourself. And so that, like I said, my confidence almost did it for me in Florida. But when I got to West Virginia, my confidence was in a different spot than it was at Florida. So the mindfulness and those practices really helped me to be able to perform there and kind of, like I said, set the stage for the rest of my career and my life, and learn those lessons from mindfulness with Mike Bromwich. Shout out Mike Bromwich.
Mm. Yeah, no, shout out to Mike, I love it. That's awesome, man. Dude, that stuff is, like, actually I wish we people talked about this stuff more, and it's funny because when I hear athletes talk about, like, the mindfulness stuff, it's just, like, the ones who do, though, they're, like, they get it, and they're
Yeah.
really, really good, and I think it's so cool to hear this stuff from you, man. Like, I don't think obviously you said you were confident in Florida, then you go to Virginia, you learn this stuff, and then you make it to the league. Like, I think that stuff's super powerful. So I appreciate you sharing that stuff. It's super cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
man. Yeah.
Nick, what do you think about that stuff, bro? Because we talk a lot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big element of being a high performer. I mean, football, especially quarterback, is so mental and like stress and emotional management because they've got 11 dudes coming after him every single play. He's the one guy that touches the ball other than the center every single play. And shit, I've seen Will ball out so many times on TV and in person. Then after I got cut watching him, and I'll always remember like a career defining moment for Will Grier for me is like I'm sitting somewhere in college when Will is playing Texas at West Virginia. And I don't know if y'all came back or what the deal was, but I think y'all scored and then they scored and then you came down pretty much walk off when you ran into the end zone. When you got it, you put the horns down, which was just freaking hilarious. But that just a freaking baller, man. Has been around the league a long time, and even having the confidence being not even confidence. Just confidence, but it's also just the maturity and the ability to always stay, here instead of here. I mean, there was that one year, Will, where you went from like the Cowboys to the Bengals to the Patriots to the Chargers to the Eagles. Wasn't that one year? Or is that over a couple seasons? No, you were with the Chargers for yeah.
I, yeah, I finished with the Chargers.
Yeah, walk us through that.
Yeah, Dallas released me after I had a really good preseason, which was tough. They brought in Trey Lance, which, the NFL business is all about. You have a starter and then you kind of have a developmental guy that you're developing. And I was like in my fifth or sixth year at that point, or fifth year at that point. And as crazy as it sounds, I was already kind of older. Like I wasn't on a rookie contract anymore. And Trey was the third overall pick a couple years before, and he was available, so they got him, and I was kind of the odd man out. But because I played well, had a lot of teams interested to sign me. Ended up signing with the Bengals and Zach Taylor, and was there for a couple weeks. And then New England, Bill Belichick called, and they really wanted me, so signed there, and was there for 10 or 11 weeks. Got to
Oh, is that
experience
long?
the Patriot way with him, and then towards the end of the year, Justin Herbert got hurt. Things weren't great in New England. So I ended up finishing the last 4 or 5 weeks in LA with the Chargers. Kellen Moore was there, so finished that season out there, and then the following season was a free agent, and that's when I signed with Philadelphia and was there until I got back to Dallas a couple years ago. So yeah,
And then was that the year they won the Super Bowl?
yeah, won the Super Bowl with Philly, which was awesome.
Super Bowl champ,
Um,
let's go.
yeah, got a ring. So yeah, I mean, dude, it's been a crazy journey, college and NFL, like, the ups and downs and all that. But I like what Nick said. It's like, keeping that, and part of it's the mindfulness talk we had or whatever, but never getting too high or too low, and being, the perspective on everything, and being in my position is, understanding all the different elements that go into it's not tennis or golf where it's just like your performance is going to determine everything, right? Like 11 guys all have to be on the same page on the field to make a successful play, but it's also the coaching staff, the organization, where everybody's at, all that support has to matter, has to goes into winning and all that too. And the most important stat for a quarterback is winning. I've seen a lot of really good quarterbacks get pushed out of the league, and I've seen some guys that maybe aren't as talented play a long time, just because of the situations that they're in. And you have to just have the wherewithal to know that all you can control is all you can control, and don't let yourself slip from that, and just control what you can control at a really high level, and let the rest kind of fall into place. And I think because of my college experience, I was able to do that. And a lot of it's just getting lucky. It's just timing and situation. That's kind of how I stayed in the league, and how some guys have made it in the league, and how some guys have not made it in the league. It's not anything that they could have done individually. It's just the time and situation they were in. So I'm grateful for my experience, all the guys I got to play for, the teams I got to play for, winning a Super Bowl, being in Dallas. I'm like, some of my best friends that I've made, being on all these different teams, are awesome relationships that I have. So
Did you ever find yourself having to manage other people's emotions? Like you said, like I was pretty good at staying here. Were other guys like way up here, like way down here? Did you have to bring some guys up? Did you have to bring some guys down? How did that work out?
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think that's a huge part of being a quarterback or a leader on any team, especially as I got older in the league. You got a really talented receiver, a really talented running back, or a lineman that's just mentally struggling in some way, right? Like some guys, you know, some tackles are blocking some of the best athletes in the world, right? And they're coming after me, and you got to talk to those guys like, hey, you're not getting any chip help right here. Like, you got to step up. Like, you can do this. You got to believe in yourself. Like, yeah, he's a good player, but like, so are you. A lot of the NFL, you can't pay for 22 veterans that have played in the NFL for 10 years that are all good players. That's not how the NFL works. It's about parity. You're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that you're going to rely on that are young, inexperienced, maybe aren't proven guys in the NFL, but they got to step up and play well for you guys to win. And the leaders on the team have to manage those guys, manage the emotions. And there's even some veterans that are that way, that maybe go through something in life outside of football. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's important to, like I said, it takes all 22 guys playing and everybody in the building for this thing to work. And I've seen it work, obviously, being a part of Philadelphia's Super Bowl season, like watching that thing being orchestrated from the off season all the way through. And then I've been on some really bad teams where it's just, yeah, not kind of the opposite of that. Right. So,
What's the difference there in your opinion? Like being on a Super Bowl winning team versus being a bad, is it more culture? Is it mindset? Is it skill set? Is like, obviously a combination of all three. Like, could you rank them?
yeah, I think it's an interesting, like, it's very similar to business in a way where, you know, everything has to be firing on all cylinders. I think the most important thing is like none of it's never going to be perfect, right? Like as good as that Philadelphia team was, a lot of good players, good coaches, we had things that we were working on. We had things that were not perfect. Like we weren't as good. Kellen was there, our OC. You know, I was with Kellen in Dallas in 2022 and 2021, and we were like setting records on offense for passing yards and total offense and points per game and all this stuff. And in Philly, like, we were not doing that. There was things on offense that we were struggling with, but they ended up winning a Super Bowl. So how does that work, or what's most important? I think the thing is that if everybody's on the same page, right, from the top down, I'm talking like cafeteria, equipment, trainers, coaches, players, everybody is does their role, understands their role, and does their role at a high level, knowing that there's going to be blemishes, there's going to be bumps in the road, but all everybody's on the same page and all people are working towards the same goal. I think it's the most important part. It's when the bad teams I've been on have guys looking out for their individual selves and what their next move may be in their career, or I'm just doing this to collect a paycheck or whatever else. And I think the parallel to business is like the interesting dynamic of like, you have to trust different people, on your team, wherever that may be, all the way, from left to right, trusting them to do their job and you just do yours, right? Like you have a meeting, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then when you break that meeting, there's a trust aspect that everybody's going to do their job at a high level, whatever that may be. I think that's what Philly did a really good job of. Yes, there was good players, yeah, and that's very important. But I've been on teams with really good players that didn't have that aspect of it, and that's what it takes. You have to combine the two to be successful.
Love it, man. That's such a good answer, and I think it's 100% spot on, man. Like, in I remember plenty of times, at least before we sold our company, there were some moments where, especially when things get stressful too, like, I'm sure, like, when you'll have a pressure situation, like, we gotta win this game or whatever, that's when that trust is really tested. You could say, "Oh, we all trust each other and stuff," but, like,
Oh
that's
yeah.
when it really comes out. I remember we had some moments where, like, we had to hit a certain project, or, like, we might have messed something up, and, yeah, you really gotta trust your team, and it's like, all right, Joe, all right, Kelsey, like, you're responsible for this. Like, I trust you to go do your job, and then, all able to execute. But I think, that trust, and I think, Nick, you're probably learning this right now too, man. Like, as you're building your company, like, there's that trust factor, there's that belief factor, there's, like that, we all gotta mesh together, or this is not gonna work. We're all in the NFL, we're all really good. We're all really good, right? But like you were saying, if you all can't get along, if the mindset's not there too, man, that's a big piece of it. Like, it's not gonna work out.
Yeah, I'd say this. I think that the parallels with the NFL, what I've learned in business are crazy because it's not golf, it's not tennis, it's not just you out there, and like you can't take over a game, right? As good as Patrick Mahomes is, like it's not just him out there. He can't play corner. He can't play offensive tackle, right? Like you can't do everybody's job, and that's the same in business. Like you have to put people in positions to succeed and kind of meet them where they are. And that's kind of the art of the NFL. Like I said, you can't just buy 22 best players. It's not set up that way. Like you've got to get 22 guys on the same page. You have to put them in positions to be successful and meet them where they are and know their strengths and their weaknesses. And it's just this deep test of knowing your team through and through, and knowing what they're good at, knowing what they're bad at, and how do I put a team out there that can be successful and get everybody on the same page. And I think that's how business is. Like you said, you guys, I don't have as much experience in business as you guys do, but it's very similar where like you're trying to operate a mission, and you've put different people, you have a marketing guy, you have all these different people on your team that you can't do all these things, right? Like you can't just take everything on. You have to trust these people to execute and do their job, and know what they're good at, know where they need help, and know where to put these people to be successful. So it's just that the NFL experience for me was seeing that on the inside, the art of doing that at a high level. And like I said, I've seen it done where you may have the best marketing guy in the world, but if you guys aren't on the same page, your marketing is going to suck. And it's the same. That's what the NFL is.
Yeah, great. I think there could be some great. I don't know if there are case studies on NFL teams for businesses. I don't think I've seen any of those. Nick, have you ever seen any like NFL case studies? Maybe for like coaching, like for coaching and stuff. But
My own experience of, what does like elite, because I mean, NFL is like, is business is also like special forces. You have all these individual units that roll into a team, and there's a big training and development and coaching that goes into each individual like group that rolls into the team. Even how you manage those people. Like, well, I don't know if you remember, like when I was on the team, it was Skip Pete was the
Yeah.
running back coach, and I had
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, Rico, and a few other guys. Like
That's a stacked room.
when we were in there, bro, we did not talk about the
Yeah.
like like X's and O's. Like it was a lot of it was managing those guys' emotions. No, I mean, obviously they had to know the playbook and install and all that, but there was a way that they went about, managing guys throughout the season and teaching them and keeping them engaged because it is such a long, hard season. Whereas I'm blanking on the name, but like the O line coach, it was like a straight like Navy SEALs session, every single meeting. But yeah, I mean, it applies to business, man, because it's all about systems that ultimately put an end product on the field or in the market. And there is literally a playbook to everything in business. And I really, once I stepped away from the NFL and got into investing in businesses that were, operating, I mean, there's all a playbook to it. And like the NFL does it at such a much higher level than a lot of the businesses that I've seen. And I'm talking businesses that we bought for 200 million. Like it is, if dudes can apply the principles that they learn from the league, to business and their career, like you will be wildly, wildly successful. It's just really hard to do that over long periods of time and building a culture to get people to buy in and, continuing to pour into people, help them get better. Yeah, you've seen a lot, and you've seen a lot across a bunch of different teams, what it takes to be successful. But yeah, man, it goes back to like, keeping the main thing and being a master, at your craft and just really outworking everybody.
I think that endurance thing though that you're like touching on, because I think for me, like at least I can tell you all from what I've seen and the mentors that I've had that who are way better entrepreneurs than I'll ever be, flat out. It's I think business is 80% psychology, 20% tactics. Like Tony Robbins says it like flat out like that mindset. We're talking about that earlier. Like you might be here on a skill set level, but if you can outlast those guys, like Nick was just saying, like you're in those coaching sessions, it's not really just about the X's and O's all the time. It's managing your state, your mindset. But if you can outlast those guys, like, I think that's why, I think Nick's is gonna be very successful. Will, I know we've talked about some business stuff before you're already doing. I think, that mindset, that psychology, you transfer that into business, you will be successful. And Nick, dude, I think you got a little business idea, bro, with this systematizing, your NFL playbook, taking that to business. Dude, there might be some consulting or service or playbook thing that we
Oh
can
man.
can do out there.
I mean, it's learn a lot being in the league. And I've even seen Tom Brady, he started to get into some of this. He's got on the boards of some of these companies. There's a lot that you learn about like organization and leadership and systems and stuff. I mean, shoot, seeing what Bill Belichick did at the Patriots, I mean, that thing was a machine. But yeah, I mean, it's not that hard. It's simple, but like doing something simple for long periods of time, that's what's like super hard. But you got to surround yourself with the right people and keep trying till something sticks. But yeah, NFL opens up doors, man. And I was fortunate to be be proactive while I was playing. I mean, Will's going on year, was it 9?
Hey,
8. I mean, holy crap, man. Will is a elite human being, man. Like the physical ability to, have my body broke down by the time I got to league, and every day was like Frankenstein, putting back
it's a
together. And
grind, bro.
yeah, I mean, and then even just like the family stuff, like you're playing ball, and a lot of that takes priority over. Whether you want to or not, like you have to be at the facility for like 10 hours each day. So it's a lot to handle, and there's a lot of sacrifice that I think goes into all this, but will be wildly successful post football. And each season is a lifetime, Justin, even in college, and all the wisdom and experience that Will has gathered over the last 8 plus 4 or 5. I mean, 12, 13 years, is super invaluable. And yeah, I mean, me personally, I want to help guys post football unlock, all that, whatever they want to do in life. I mean, Will's pretty dialed in across his faith, body, mind, and spirit. So we're here to help you, Will. You're a freaking dog, man. We appreciate you getting on today and chopping it up, man. It is you're a special dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I think one way to help some of these guys and to help anybody listening is to use the relationships, talk to people, be vulnerable, and tell people where you're at, and use what you're good at to create these teams, like these mentors. These Everybody can help everybody in a way, right? It takes a village to be successful in anything. I'm a big believer in the using everybody's strengths to reach a common goal, right? Like that's what the NFL is all about. That's what business is about. As I've gotten older, I've seen that play out. I've been there for guys, in the NFL, guys not in the NFL, and will continue to be, and using relationships like, what we have. You can't just conquer the world on your own. It just doesn't happen. So,
Yeah, we're trying to conquer too, man. We're trying to conquer here.
yeah, not that it's about
Well,
conquering the world.
last question, podcast is called Born to Be Great. We ask everyone this. What does being great mean to you?
Being great is not about just conquering the world. I think being great is about finding yourself and being that consistent person every day to everybody. I think that it's important to be in touch with your faith, mind, body, spirit is so important. People, I think, are losing sight of how important it is to also feed your spirit. Like you have to feed these things constantly every day. The little things, the routines that you have every day create who you are. They're your habits. It's the Atomic Habits, James Clear book of, you can't change something in a day and just become something, right? It's a collection of 1% every day over a long period of time creates who you are. So what are you doing every day to create that person? Those are the systems, the machine that you're building, right? And I think greatness isn't like what you end up being measured against anybody else, because we're all very different. It's what you end up being measured against who you were, because you don't stay the same. You either get worse or you get better. And that's
Heard
not
that many
relative to
times.
anybody else. It's not a comparison. It's not a comparison game. It's you versus you. And being great is looking back at those experiences and having a lifetime worth of relationships and experiences that have created a person that can share those experiences, and have relationships with people that help other people become the greatest version of themselves.
Dang, I love that, man. That was awesome.
Sorry, that was super philosophical, but yeah.
Dude, no, we lied, dude. I love that stuff, man. Like that shit fires me up, bro. Seriously. Appreciate you coming on here. Where can people find you, man? Anything you want to leave the people with?
My socials are live. I'm active on Instagram, probably the most. Um, right now, I'm just obviously still playing, but would run this foundation in Charlotte. The golf tournament's coming up. That's kind of what I'm pouring into right now. Just trying to help the youth spread the word of God through that foundation. That's all on my socials. That's where you can find me, and any support there is welcomed. And yeah,
Awesome, man. Well, this is amazing. Again, we appreciate you coming on. And we're definitely looking, we got to have Will back on, Nick. We definitely got to have him back on.
Yeah, he's just wise, man. We appreciate you, Will.
I'll definitely come back on, boys. We got more to talk about, so we'll do it again.
Let's go.